Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends. Our number duo of your Saturday morning extravaganza is here. And this is your Saturday morning vibe. We are so pleased to introduce you to Professor Gary Swangin, who is just, my friends, his career, going through what this man has accomplished in the over 50 years, that he has been dealing with the cosmos, with astronomy, would take probably the better part of an hour. Deep passion for the cosmos, for astronomy. He's held very, very prominent roles. He was the director of the Newark Museum, Planetarium, and Observatory in Newark, New Jersey. He serves as the CEO of Harborside Technologies. He has taught at Rutgers, Fairleigh Dickinson, William Patterson, and he has collaborated with NASA on the installation and operation of the first HBCU robotic telescope in the United States. That's at Delaware State University. And just so many other things. Successful broadcaster also. 10 million listeners to his series, Are We Alone in the Universe? Professor Swangin, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning.
Well, good morning, James. Thank you very much for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Let's talk about the moon. We're going back to the moon. It was supposed to be already. The flight NASA canceled, and it's supposed to now, from what I understand, they're talking about some dates, early March, perhaps. There is a window of a few dates where we may be headed back to the moon. Why are we going? Is it important that we're going? And what do you think about this effort to go back to the moon?
Well, I'm very excited about it because we haven't been there in about 50 years. And the nice thing about it is that we're going back, once we have a landing on the moon, we're going to be landing at an area on the moon where there might be deposits of water ice in the southern part of the moon and the South Pole. But the more important aspect of it is that we're kind of laying down the foundation, a dress rehearsal for an actual lunar base on the surface of the moon, where we'll study the study the stars in the sky. And also, it will be a launch pad or a launching place for our continuation of missions to the planet Mars and perhaps other places in our solar system. So that's very important. Now, another thing is that during the Apollo space program, we were racing to get to the moon before the Soviet Union would arrive there, and we were very successful. Now we've got another problem. We have another race, and that's with the Chinese. Thus far, they've had successfully landed 4 robotic spacecraft on the far side of the moon. And after looking at some of the films and reading some of the journals of the Chinese astronomers and the Chinese scientists, it seems to be that that's their goal, and they expect to put astronauts on the moon in 2030. So that's a grave concern because the Chinese are definitely targeting the moon in terms of making it kind of like a lunar base. And when that happens, we're going to have problems as to who has claim to certain sections of the moon.
Wow. Didn't expect that. So now, yeah, so who owns the moon? Just unbelievable, actually. Okay, so all of those things are important. Let me ask you a few other questions here about it. Do you think that there's an appetite in America, the excitement that surrounded the moon? Kind of like for the generation that you and I belong to, it's like, okay, been there, done that. What can we learn? What do you think we can learn from going back?
Well, I mean, we can learn a lot in terms of the origin of the moon, the origin of our solar system. The moon is sort of like a fossil. But your question about the reaction to going back to the moon, that's kind of an answer that no one can predict right now. But I can tell you this, that during the time of the Apollo space program, we had the 3 major networks and then, of course, 1 public service network. And everybody was focused on looking at the landings on the moon for the 12 astronauts who successfully landed on its surface. Now it's a different kind of thing. We've been out in space. The wow factor of like, while having astronauts in space, we had the International Space Station, we had the shuttle launches and so forth. So I don't know. To be honest with you, I really don't know what the reaction is going to be this time.
May I turn to some other areas? I am so curious about this. I love from a layman, a real layman, because I am not a scientist at all. I love the whole subject of astronomy. How many planets? How big is our galaxy? How many planets are in our galaxy? Just the Milky Way galaxy alone.
Okay, well, let's put it this way, Bo, or James.
Yeah, Bo is fine.
Okay, let's put it this way. If we take the size of our Milky Way galaxy, and that number keeps changing year after year after year, there's an estimate of about 400 billion stars. It's the new estimate in our Milky Way galaxy, just in our Milky Way galaxy alone. Now,
in our galaxy alone, 400 billion stars, you say?
That's correct. Mm-hmm. All right, 400 billion stars. All right. Now, between 2009 and 2018, we sent a space probe out there called the Kepler spacecraft, which surveyed 150,000 stars. Of that 150,000 stars, 6,100 were confirmed as planets, and 2,600 of those stars had places that were promising life on Earth. In other words, not promising life on Earth, but were possible candidates for having planetary systems with Earth-sized planets. What that means is that if you take the number of stars in our Milky Way galaxy, which is, I said, about 400 billion, and there are multiple planetary systems out there, you could have anywhere to about 1 trillion other planets in our Milky Way galaxy.
We could have 1 trillion planets in our galaxy alone.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
1 trillion planets.
Yeah, and if you want to lower that number, just for the sake of conversation, let's say you want to lower it down, let's just say 100 or 200, just 200 planets out there. If you take the number of galaxies that are in the universe, the number of galaxies or the number of stars that are in the universe, then the possibility of many trillion Earth-sized planets would exist in the universe.
Many trillions of planets. So let me just put on the Final Frontier possibility hat. I was watching a documentary last night, in fact, on the Queen Mary and the building of the Queen Mary and so forth, and how in the 1940s, prior to the one when it was launched, the Queen Mary sailed from England to the United States 4 days, and then when they put the pedal to the metal, it was under 3 days. airplanes came along. That 3-day voyage, 4-day voyage was cut to 7 hours. Now, of course, we know with supersonic travel, it could go even further than that. What is your view of the future of mankind with space? You just said we have this incredible number, maybe even 1 trillion planets in our own galaxy. We have, from what I understand, as the number of galaxies out there could be what? Another 1 trillion galaxies?
Absolutely. I guess I could put it to you this way. There are more stars in the sky than all of the grains of sand on the beaches and deserts of our planet Earth. There are thousands upon thousands of galaxies. I'll tell you, when you look through those giant telescopes and you see galaxies, it's almost as if you're looking at a myriad of beaches with incredible number of galaxies in there. It's unbelievable. It's staggering, but it's also very beautiful.
This, what I call the creation, is just an incredibly vast thing that I don't think most of us can even wrap our arms around how vast just the physical creation is. And now scientists, and astronomers are talking about perhaps a multiverse, which means that what we conceive to be of the physical universe could be many universes on the same order that we're looking at. It's astounding. Do you think that we will ever really be able to travel into in whether it's 1,000 years from now or thousands of years from now, to take trips even to the far reaches of our own galaxy, let alone other galaxies?
Well, I think that's going to be something for the future, because we do not have the technology to travel even outside of our own Milky Way. Just to give you a perfect example, the distances that you have to cover, the Voyager spacecraft, the two of them, which are threading their way to the outer fringes of our solar system, to reach the nearest star, it would take them about 70,000 years. Now, you mentioned that we have other universes. Well, that's kind of right now theory. But if we do have other universes, then, of course, the number of stars, whether they're life forms elsewhere, would be almost infinite if you think about it in that way. Depends on what your view of the universe, whether it's infinite or finite. But here's the thing. New theory suggests that the Big Bang may have been the growth or an outcome of a merger of other universes. So there is the possibility that we have an infinite number of universes, which we now call it multiverse rather than universe. But that can exist. And if that's true, it means that we have an infinite number of universes and there is no end to it. And let's put it in the perspective of saying this, that, space is created by the universe itself. So I know I have students in university who say, well, look, if the universe began out of a cosmic fireball, what's on the other side of it? You can't answer that. You say nothing. And that's not a very good answer, but that's the one that we have to use right now.
Yes, and this is where those of us that believe that, and I am one of these people that believes that there is an alignment with the Big Bang Theory and with spiritual thought, that there is God. You can't have a painting without the painter. And I don't want to get into that discussion, but I'm just saying the idea that it is that the universes are infinite, yeah, it makes sense to me. Makes total sense.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, of course, there will be many circles that argue pro and con towards that particular notion of a universe. In terms of creation, well, I get that question quite often, about creation and so forth. But my response has been this since I've started studying astronomy. My response is basically this. We're not in the business, in astronomy, we're not in the business to contradict the religious beliefs about the creation of the universe. What we are doing, and this is my own personal point of view, is that we're marveling over creation. We're looking at the steps that brought about creation. So I don't really think it's a conflict or, something that we should shy away from it. It's just another way that we are looking at creation. And the details are magnificent. And I can tell you this, Flo, every time I look through a telescope, and I've been doing this since I was 7 years of age, every time I look through a telescope, I marvel over this creation.
Yes. Wow. I want to look through one of those big telescopes one of these days and look out into deep space. That is just one of the things, man. I tell you, it's incredible. Look, that's the time we have for today, but we're going to have you back. I want to you and I are going to do a podcast. We've agreed to do a podcast because I want to get more in detail with this. And I also want to have you back when we begin that mission to the moon. I think it was going to be very, very interesting and exciting.
Well, thank you very much, James. I certainly appreciate it. And I love talking about anytime.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.